All right, good morning, everybody. Another early morning video from the Beeb Ringside Reporter Live. Um, Something I was thinking about this morning, and actually last night, I was just reading about boxing, and I was thinking about something that not a lot of people have been talking about, or at least I haven't heard them talk about it. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't, but I haven't really heard a lot of talk about this, and that's Deontay Wilder has not made a mandatory defense of his WBC title since 2017, which is over 15 months ago. And in stark contrast, Anthony Joshua made a mandatory defense of his title or titles, uh, specifically the WBA. Alexander Povetkin was his mandatory for the WBA title, I believe. And that was 5 months ago. So it just seems kind of bizarre and odd to me that Deontay Wilder has not made a mandatory defense at all last year and is not slated to make a mandatory defense, to my knowledge, this year. And a lot of people say that Dominic Brazil is the mandatory challenger, but later in this video, we're going to kind of go over that and why that seems kind of odd to me right now because we're going to take a look at the rankings. But right now, let's take a look at the WBC's rules. Give me 1 second so I can open up these rules and pull up these rules in regards to their mandatory title defense rules. Let's open this up here. Okay, give me 1 second. Let's pop this open. All right, just give me a second here. We're going to go over their mandatory rules because this is quite interesting how this mandatory rules for title defenses of champions is written. Okay. All right, 1 second. WBC Championship belts. Give me 1 second here. Okay, Article 3, which is championship obligations. Okay. Mandatory defense obligations. All WBC champions shall make at least one mandatory defense per year unless an exception is granted by the WBC in its sole discretion. The champion may be required to make more than one mandatory defense per year if the WBC has designated more than one mandatory challenger for any reason. No bout shall be considered a mandatory defense unless expressly approved as mandatory by the WBC and made exclusively against an official mandatory challenger designated by the WBC. Challenger who wins the title shall automatically inherit the mandatory defense obligations of the champion he defeated unless the WBC, in its sole discretion, otherwise directs. And now it states here in another article of the rules, timing and extensions of mandatory defense. The time periods for mandatory defense as stated in these rules may be altered by the WBC in its sole discretion under special circumstances, including if the champion has defeated the title in a voluntary defense against a contender the WBC may have deemed a mandatory challenger. No mandatory bout may be contested until such time as required for a mandatory defense under these rules and regulations, including any extensions that may be granted by the WBC in its sole discretion. The WBC shall always have the final discretion to designate a mandatory challenger by ordering a final elimination bout of two qualified contenders or by designating a qualifying challenger as the official mandatory challenger. So there's some more stuff here, but I don't want to kind of belabor the point and be long-winded. I don't want to sit here and read the rules all day. But if you look at these rules, basically, it's totally up to the WBC whether or not they want to enforce a mandatory defense on their champions. Now, it says that you have to, it says you're supposed to make one mandatory defense per year at least, which Deontay Wilder, to my knowledge, did not. Well, he did not make a mandatory defense in 2018 at all. His last mandatory defense was against Bermane Stiverne in November of 2017. Okay? So he went a whole year without having to make a mandatory defense. But then people can say, well, the WBC is breaking their own rules. No, they're really not, because they give themselves a lot of leeway here. They give themselves the right to make an exception to their rules. They always give themselves an out so they can choose whether or not, when, and how they want to, enact their rules. So they are always giving themselves an out. So they can make an exception for whatever reason, and it doesn't necessarily state, what they can make an exception for or why they would make an exception. They can just make an exception for any reason. It doesn't have to be specified here, number one. And number two, if they wanted to, they could order elimination bouts till the cows come home, and therefore delaying a mandatory defense. So history has shown that the WBC has been very, very lax in enforcing their mandatory defenses, particularly against Floyd Mayweather. Adonis Stevenson's another one. And now Deontay Wilder. So I think in this case, they really were trying to hope that a unification bout with Anthony Joshua could have been negotiated and could have taken place. So that's why I believe they kept pushing off the mandatory. But at this point, we know that it's not going to happen anytime soon. So they allowed Tyson Fury to be a voluntary defense for Deontay Wilder. And at that time, I believe they were the only sanctioning body that actually ranked Tyson Fury, because the other three did not. So that's that was kind of bizarre at the time. But I mean, again, I don't have a problem with it, but it's just kind of bizarre how they were the only ones that did that. So the WBC has the rights, and they have the ability and the authority to enforce these rules any way they want, because they give themselves a lot of loopholes, and there really isn't no designated time. So as long as it states that the champion has to make one defense per year, the heavyweight champion has to make one mandatory defense per year, but it doesn't state, you could make a mandatory defense in January of 2018 and then not make another mandatory defense in December of 2020. So essentially, that's more than a year's time that elapses. It's close to 2 years, but you're still honoring that one mandatory defense per year. So a lot of people have this misconception that there's a specified time period where the champion has to make a mandatory defense, which is not true. He only has to make one per year. It doesn't state, what time of the year that is made. So I just find it odd that Deontay Wilder has not made a mandatory defense in close to over 15 months. Okay, so the WBC is just kind of really lax, and they're not really consistent on how they enforce these mandatories. It's all based upon the fighter, and obviously favoritism could be applied in a lot of situations. And of course, I believe it was applied in the case of Adonis Stevenson and Floyd Mayweather. And now it seems as though they're giving Deontay Wilder a lot of leeway as well. Now, you ask yourself, well, B, what's the big deal? What do you care? Don't you want to see Joshua versus Wilder? Don't you want to see Wilder versus Fury? Absolutely. But now we're not getting those fights. So why would mandatory not be enforced now that the WBC knows that those two fights are not going to happen in the near future? So let's talk about who the mandatory challenger is now, because it's been floated around that Dominic Breazeale is the mandatory challenger. But let's open up these rankings for the WBC. Give me 1 second here. So Dominic Breazeale currently, right now, as we speak, as of March 1st, is ranked number 4. Dillian Whyte is ranked number 1 by the WBC, and Tyson Fury is ranked number 2. So a lot of people are saying Dominic Breazeale is the mandatory challenger for Deontay Wilder. But how could that be if Dominic Breazeale is ranked number 4 and Dillian Whyte is ranked number 1? And Dillian Whyte has been ranked number 1 for the longest time, okay? For over, I believe, almost a year or more than a year, he's been ranked number 1. And he's also been ranked number 1 by, I believe, the WBO as well. So he's ranked number 1 by the WBC and the WBO. And he's ranked number 4 by the WBA. And he is not ranked at all, very bizarrely, by the IBF. I'm shocked he's not ranked by the IBF at all. So he's ranked by 3 of the 4 sanctioning bodies, and he's ranked high in all 3 of them. He's ranked number 1 by the WBO and number 1 by the WBC, and he's ranked number 4 by the WBA. So the reason why, I'm saying to myself, it's not always fear that the WBC applies these rules in the way they do, because in the case of a Dillian Whyte, who has been highly ranked for a long time, if I'm not going to get a Tyson Fury fight and we're not going to get an Anthony Joshua fight, I think the next best opponent for Deontay Wilder would be Dillian Whyte. And seeing as how he's ranked number 1, why would he not be the mandatory? And seeing as how Deontay Wilder has not made a mandatory defense in over 15 months, this would make the most logical sense. And I know there's rumblings about Dillian Whyte going to ESPN, and we're going to make a show and have a show about that later today and talk about that. So we're going to save all the talk for that later today and tonight. But why is Dillian Whyte, and why has not Dillian Whyte gotten a world title shot yet after being ranked number 1 by the WBC and being so highly ranked by the other sanctioning bodies, being ranked number 1 by the WBO? Why are these sanctioning bodies not enforcing Dillian Whyte to be the mandatory, particularly the WBC and the WBO? Why is that not happening? And the answer to that is obviously, in my opinion, it's pretty evident that it's politics, because these sanctioning bodies have the right and have given themselves the right to enforce their rules any way they see fit and any way they want to enforce them. So because of the way these rules are written, how they can deem a challenger worthy because they can give the champion an exception, and they can determine that they can have a ton of eliminators being fought before that champion makes a mandatory defense. They have the right and they have the ability to delay mandatory bouts for their champions for over a year and a half, 2 years if they wanted to, and they've done it several times in the past. So that is not fair to someone like Dillian Whyte, who's been paying his dues and has been ranked number 1 for forever. And the same situation with Alida Alvarez of the WBC's number 1 light heavyweight ranked challenger at the time. He was ranked number 1 for over a year, and he never got that shot at Adonis Stevenson. So is this fair? And should these rules be changed a little bit? Should they be a little bit more specific? Should the WBC not have all this authority and this leeway? And I know it sounds stupid, because why? Of course, the WBC should have authority, because they're it's their sanctioning body. They should have the right to make their own rules and enforce them the way they want. But shouldn't there be a sense of fairness when making these rules? Shouldn't there be a sense of consistency when making these rules, if you really think about it? So these are things that people really don't think about. Like, people just assume that the champion has to make a defense and he has a certain amount of time to make a defense, but that's not the case. It's really not the case. There's no time frame. He has to make 1 a year. And like I said, it could be the beginning of 1 year and the end of the following year. And right then and there, two years can elapse before a mandatory challenger gets his title shot. And all the while, he could be told that he has to fight 5 or 6 eliminators before he gets his title shot. So I think these rules need to be changed. They need to be more specific, and they need to be more fair for the guy that's ranked number 1. Because the guy that's ranked number 1 should not have to wait 2 years before he gets a title shot. That's fucking bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. So in all honesty, the fight that I want to see, since I can't get Tyson Fury and I can't get Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder, I want to see him fight Dillian Whyte. I think that's the next best possible option in terms of a fight that I think is significant, in my opinion, is Dillian Whyte. He should get the shot. He should get the next shot. And if he doesn't, I think it's fucking bullshit, and I think it's unfair. And if he doesn't get the shot and Anthony Joshua beats Big Baby Miller and they can't make a unification bout between Joshua and Wilder, then he should get the shot against Joshua next if the Wilder-Joshua fight, the unification fight, does not get made. So at some point in time, maybe not in the, at some point in time, Dillian Whyte should, by the end of the year, get a title shot. And if he doesn't, that's a fucking travesty. That's really a travesty. So I just think that, obviously we know boxing is not fair. There's no fairness in boxing. It's very political. But I just thought I wanted to, talk about this and point these things out. Let me open up here and go to the chat and see what you guys think and see what your opinion on this is. 1 second to pop open the chat. I'm trying to multitask here. Got everything going. All right. Let's take a look and see what you guys think. Good morning, Andreas Kiana. What up, Beebs? How you doing, Raphael? Yo, PD. Okay, this guy's named PD. Yo, how you doing, brother? All right, is Whyte with ESPN now? I'm not sure. We're going to talk about that later. Okay. Tone, what's up? We will be collecting. Yeah, PED says we will be collecting. Okay. And that's why they are corrupt, Dave Busick says. All right. These self-governing bodies allow themselves to change their own rules whenever they want, says Tone. That's correct. All the cash goes to some kind of good shit. Okay. Klitschko making $40 million deal with his own. Well, that's what they're saying. We don't know if that's true yet. That's a rumor. The UK needs in on this shit. Beeb up hella earlier today. Yep, that's right, Dwayne. Okay. EJ Boxing Live. Yeah, that's what I said. It was Stavern in November. EJ. He fought Stavern in November. That's what I said. That was his last mandatory. Didn't I say that? I thought I said that. Thought I made that clear. Yeah. Brazil had fought in a title eliminator. Has Dillian Whyte fought a title eliminator? No, he ducked his title eliminator twice versus Luis Ortiz. Okay, so why didn't Brazil have to fight Ortiz for his eliminator? Rolando Zorro. Okay, EJ Boxing says Wilder's last defense. Yeah, that's what I said. Fought Romain Stavern in November of 2017. Didn't I say? I mean, correct me if I didn't say that. Anybody in the chat? Okay, Beeb, I feel Whyte would be a good match up for Wilder before AJ. I agree, Emmanuel. Shout out to Emmanuel Morano. Okay. Whyte said in an interview that Brazil is mandatory because Brazil sued Wilder following their brawl. The WBC made it mandatory if Brazil dropped the lawsuit. I don't know about that. I mean, I can't speak to that or not. Adonis had no mandatory for 5 years. WBC don't enforce them. It's all about money, says Herb Leonard. We know that. Alex T, there has been speculation of that notion. Okay, look at Coogan's interview with Whyte from this past weekend. 1 + 1 = 2. To be mandatory, you must fight at least one repeat title eliminator. But WBC ordered Whyte Ortiz twice in 2018. Ronzo Zorro, you're making an incorrect statement. 1 + 1 = 2. To be a mandatory, you must fight at least one repeat title eliminator. But WBC ordered Whyte Ortiz twice. That's not correct. You don't have to fight an eliminator to become a mandatory challenger. That's up to the WBC. I just read the rules, and you heard me read the rules. You don't have to fight an eliminator to become mandatory. That's incorrect. That's up to the WBC to enforce that if they wanted to. White ducked and ignored the WBC title eliminators to fight 2 overseas bums with 0 to gain. You guys call yourself boxing fans, but you don't know the rules. No, you don't know the rules. I just read the rules, and it is Renaro Zorro, and it clearly states that it's up to the WBC to determine whether or not they want to fight eliminators. They want to enforce eliminators. Let me ask you a question. How many eliminators did Bermane Stiverne fight when he was the mandatory for Deontay Wilder? I'm waiting. Answer that. Boom. You're shut down. These fucking people want to debate. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Okay, White has a shot at Joshua, but he priced himself out. Yeah, but they lowballed him on purpose because they knew that they wanted to make that Miller fight, and they wanted to have that fight in the United States. And it was that shit. They wanted to have a showcase fight for Joshua in the United States. So they intentionally lowballed White and made an offer that he wasn't going to accept, just like they did with Deontay Wilder when they offered him the 15 flat. The quickest way to get out of a fight is either price yourself out of it or price yourself too low or price your opponent too low so he can't take the offer. Those are the 2 oldest tricks in the book. We already know that. And many fighters have complained about Hearn lowballing them. Wilder, White, Pulev, all of them. So we already know how Matchroom operates with these offers. You know, if they want to make a fight, they know how to make a fight. If they don't want to make a fight, they know how to pretend that they want to, but they know how to they know how to weasel themselves out of not making it too. Guys are pleading for Wilder to give White a title shot handout. Zorro, that makes no sense. So you think Brazil deserves a title shot over White? At least White fought Chisora and he fought Parker. Who did Brazil fight to get his title shot? You're making no sense. Bermane was scheduled to face Povetkin and eliminated, but Povetkin failed the drug test versus Stiverne, so Stiverne was elevated. Okay, Zorro, but why wasn't an eliminator with the next available challenger ordered then? See, now you're backpedaling. You lost this debate. You're disqualified. You're out of the equation. That's bullshit. So you admit Stiverne was elevated without having to fight an eliminator. So you just made an incorrect statement earlier saying that the mandatory challenger has to fight an eliminator, but you admit that Stiverne didn't. So now you're contradicting yourself. Shut the fuck up, dude. Shut the fuck up. WBC ordered Stiverne Brazil eliminated, but Ortiz failed PD, so Stiverne was elevated again. Okay, so you're proving my point. The WBC can sit there and enforce the rules the way they want to and order eliminators when they want to. But in this case, they did not for Stiverne. So again, you're wrong. You're fucking wrong. The WBC ordered Stiverne, but okay. So Eddie is willing to do anything basically to get AJ that last belt Wilder's holding hostage. Well, false. WBC first ordered Stiverne Povetkin, then Stiverne Brazil. Okay, but you're missing the point. He still did not fight either guy, so he did not fight an eliminator, and he got a title shot without fighting the eliminator. So you made an incorrect statement. Own it. Own it. White has never been champ, so they can't and probably won't bend the rules for White. Okay, so Brazil has never been champ either. So why is he going to get the shot next? Or so what they're saying. Okay. Yeah, White's been highly ranked for ages. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, you guys are ridiculous. You make statements and you contradict yourselves and you get proven wrong and you still continue to repeat the same shit over and over again, even after you've been proven wrong. PED says Brazil hasn't done shit. He's just in the way. Well, give Brazil credit for one thing. He's kept himself relevant by talking a lot and by creating a lot of controversy and by having this beef with Deontay Wilder for whatever reason. So they're trying to, have this bad blood build up between them to kind of, put interest into the fight. So order an eliminator with White and another guy and hope the other guy pulls out. Then he could be in a comparable situation to Stiverne. Zorro, fucking just give it up. Give it up. You're fucking wrong. And why the fuck would you want to have all these eliminators instead of having title shots? You'd rather see title eliminators than title shots? Who deserves a shot at the title? Name me one person that deserves a shot at the title right now before Dillian White. Name it. Name me that one person. Arguably, probably Fury. But Fury already got his shot, and it was a draw. So name one fighter outside of Dillian White that deserves a shot at the title right now. Give me one fucking name. And don't tell me it's Brazil. Fucking God, man. I'm telling you, these fucking people are deluded. If you're scared of Ortiz, you don't deserve Wilder. Did you see Ortiz in his last two fights? Honestly, have you seen it? Like, no one's afraid of Ortiz. I don't understand. And who is Ortiz beat to be this boogeyman? He got knocked out by Wilder. Ortiz is not this boogeyman. It's over. Come on, dude. You're scared of Ortiz. White would knock out Ortiz right now. Konaki knocked down White twice in sparring. Now here we go with the sparring bullshit. Dude, you are all over the place because you're getting proven wrong. I'm close to freaking blocking you right now. That's how stupid. I mean, I don't block people, but you're just making such stupid remarks that I got to block you. I don't even think you deserve to be in this chat. You're making so many stupid statements. Now we're going to pull sparring into it. So now if you knock people down in sparring, then now you deserve a title shot based off of sparring. That's right. That's right, Rafael. Who is afraid of Ortiz? I mean, the guy's getting older by the minute, and it's showing in his performances. And I like Ortiz a lot, but, you know, it is what it is. Sparring title shots. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So now we're going to look at people that got knocked down in sparring, and now the fighter that knocked someone down in sparring, he gets a title shot based off of that. Listen to the ridiculousness coming out of this fucking person's mouth, this Zorro guy in the chat. Do yourself a favor, stop talking, because you're embarrassing the fuck out of yourself. Why am I even arguing with this guy? Why am I even getting mad? Why am I even getting heated? It's ridiculous. Bart said Eubank Jr. was better than Groves in sparring, and Groves beat Eubank Jr. Sparring. Sparring means nothing. Sparring does mean nothing. Sparring does mean nothing. You know why sparring means nothing? Because it doesn't go in the record books. It doesn't go in the record books. So I'm asking people in the chat, who deserves, name one fighter that deserves a title shot before Dillian White. Can anyone name me one fighter that deserves a title shot before Dillian White right now? Can anyone? Explain why White faced Parker and Chisora when the WBC ordered White twice. What do you mean the WBC ordered White twice? What the fuck are you talking about? So why is White still ranked #1 by the WBC without fighting any eliminators then? I'm waiting for the answer for that, Zorro. You're a fucking idiot, dude. Well, Jason says Wilder has not mandatory right now, I think. You're probably correct because it is up to the WBC. Ordered White versus Ortiz twice. Show me the links where White versus Ortiz was ordered twice as an eliminator. Show me that. Dude, you're reaching. You're fucking reaching. Ortiz got knocked out by Wilder. He's not an eliminator for anybody anymore. He's a fucking idiot, this guy. I'm just like 2 seconds away from blocking this guy. He's just so stupid. Jason's right. I mean, they haven't ordered a mandatory yet. Eddie Hearn and White paid WBC to sanction White versus Salinas and Brown. Yeah, okay. This guy's getting blocked. He's dumb. This guy's getting blocked. We're not allowing fucking make-up stories in this chat anymore. Bye-bye. You're blocked. He's gone. You're going to be held accountable for your statements from now on in this chat. If you're just going to talk bullshit and you're not going to make any logical statements, and you're going to act as though you have a inside track to the WBC, and you're talking as if you're in direct contact with Mauricio Suleiman, then you're getting fucking blocked. I'm blocking idiots from now on. Beeb, what does Ortiz need to do to earn another title shot? He needs to beat another top contender. Look at his last 2 fights. They're matching him soft now for a reason. Because they know that he's slipping, and they know that Another loss, and he's out of the equation forever. Based off his last 2 performances, does anyone think he beats Wilder? Does anyone think he beats Dillian White? Who would you pick Ortiz over right now? See, I mean, I like Ortiz a lot, but let's make no mistake about it. He is fading right now. He has slipped. He has slipped. So to sit there and continue to talk about Ortiz as if he's the boogeyman, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all. Again, no one's answered the question. Who else deserves a title shot before Dillian White right now? Can anyone name me a fighter that deserves a title shot right now before Dillian White? Ortiz has slipped. I think he may beat White, but White will not fight him. I mean, like, I just don't understand that. I just don't understand that statement. So Joshua hasn't fought Ortiz either, and neither has Fury. Okay? Wilder was the only person to fight Ortiz because they're both PBC guys. Beeb, Ortiz against him are gassed out a lot. Ortiz is fighting soft opposition while White continues to fight top. Exactly, Raphael. Look at Ortiz's last 2 fights, and then look at friggin' Dillian White's last 2 fights, excuse me. Who's fought better opposition? I'm sorry, right now, I would pick Dillian White over Ortiz. I would. No question about it. No question about it. What belts does Ortiz have? I don't know. I don't think he has any belts. Hot video. Really don't. All right, well, it's kind of close, getting close in time for me to have to wrap this up. I got to head out to work in a couple minutes. But again, no one has named me one fighter that deserves a title shot over Ortiz. Excuse me, over Dillian White. No one's named one fighter that they believe deserves a title shot before Dillian White. So I'm gonna have to assume that, yeah, you guys agree with me that Dillian White should get a title shot before anyone else right now. All right, guys, that's all I got for now, man. I gotta head out of here. I gotta head out to work. But thank you so much for tuning in. And again, let me know, man. If anyone can name one fighter other than the Dillian White that deserves a title shot right now, please either put it in the chat or put it in the comment section. All right, man. Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon, and we'll probably be doing a show later about this Dillian White ESPN story. But until then, have a great day, everybody, and make sure you check us out. We'll be tweeting out the time of that show. I'm guessing probably 7:30, 8-ish. We'll be doing that show tonight. Thank you, Ricky Alphonse. I will be doing more of these videos. Yeah, you guys are welcome, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Legendary Boxer says White and Ortiz both deserve title shots, I think. Well, Ortiz got his shot last year. White did not. So I think we should at least give White one shot before we give Ortiz 2 shots. That's just my opinion. All right, see you later, guys. Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon. Peace. Have a great day. And tune in later tonight. Keep an eye out on Twitter and keep an eye out on YouTube for the time of the show tonight. We'll figure it out. But bank on probably in between 7 and 8 o'clock. All right, have a great night. Have a great day, guys. Peace out.